The elections are in the rearview mirror. We talk Turkey with former Governor David Paterson and Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman. The Point starts right now. Former Governor David Paterson is a Democrat. Bruce Blakeman, the Nassau County Executive, is a Republican. They're here to share their perspectives on campaign 2022. So, guys, listen, Kathy Hochul won by single digits in a deeply blue state. And while you have to say a win is a win, is this a wake-up call for her?
Well, I think that basically this was an election that was a tale of two cities. You had the suburbs, which were deeply red, especially in Nassau County and Suffolk County. And then you had the city of New York. And I think Governor Hochul is very lucky that the Democrat machinery is still working in Kings County and Manhattan, because if not for them, she would not be governor. They outperformed all the models for the election. And quite frankly, from a political perspective, they did a very good job for her. But I think if she's going to govern effectively, she's going to have to recognize that the suburbs really don't want government to be run only by New York City.
David Paterson.
I think that issues are temporal, that they change, and I think both parties could learn a lesson from this situation. From June, when the Supreme Court rendered its decision in the Roe v. Wade case, to August, it was all about choice. But you just can't talk about the same issue all the time. So by September, the issue that emerged was crime. And I think a lot of Democrats staggered, and many of them never even came forward to talk about crime. And it's surprising that that would happen. Now, on the other hand, Lee Zeldin, and let's give credit where credit is due, he was talking about crime all along. He got himself into the position where he was very close in the polls. And this is where I thought he made a mistake, which is you can't keep talking about the same issue. In Nassau County, there's a real problem, and in Suffolk County, with seniors who are going to get evicted from their homes. They need to build low and moderate income housing, because with the pensions they have now and inflation the way it is, they can barely afford to stay there. He didn't say anything about that. He didn't say anything about taxes. He's a Republican, for goodness sakes. Talk about the problems with taxes. I thought he stayed on the single issue too long, and I think it might have cost him. I think it would have actually been closer had he diversified his campaign at the end.
Mr. Blakeman, you agree with that?
Well, no, I don't agree with that. I think that abortion was the issue for Kathy Hochul. Had the Supreme Court not rendered their decision, I think that Lee Zeldin would be governor. I also think that she owes her reelection to the Democrat machine in Kings County and Manhattan County, because basically, again, their turnout was a lot higher than people expected. And when you look at her performance throughout the state, she has an important decision to make. Is she going to be governor for the whole state, or is she just going to be governor for the interests of a small few in New York City? She's got to repeal cashless bail, or at least significantly reform it. She's got to take away the desire to impose land use control from the state on local government. And this idea of changing the elections for county and town officials to even years, I think, is a big mistake. If you want to fire up the suburbs and you want to fire up the rural counties, that's a great way to do it. It'll be a great Republican issue. So if she wants to govern, she's going to have to govern the whole state.
But here's really the question. Will she have to adapt some of her positions or change some of her positions to reflect the issues that Lee Zeldin raised? For example, you talked about bail reform and criminal justice reform. Will she have, I mean, Governor Paterson, do you think that she will have to then go back to the legislature and say, hey, the public wants to see criminal justice change and not the way you think?
I think that Governor Hochul was a very good chess player in this situation. Her first issue was to pass the budget. In passing the budget, she put out a 10-point plan, which would have resolved a lot of what the county executive, Mr. Blakeman, is talking about. But the legislature was attempting to shut it down. So what she does is she holds up the budget for 9 days. That was like the shot across the bow, meaning, you know what, guys, I got to run for governor right now. I need all your support. I can't get into an internecine battle with you. But now that she has survived it and stays as governor, if you looked at her record when she was a Congress member in Buffalo and other things she's done in her life, I think that she will embrace, and it's not really even that much that it takes to assess the dangerous of the defendant, because 49 of the states do it, and 2 states that kind of came kicking and screaming were New Jersey and California, but they set up an algorithm. In other words, if you want bail, let's say, and you've had 2 prior offenses, both of them violent, you don't get anything, you go to jail. Jail, a 4-letter word that I think Democrats have to start using a lot more, but I think Governor Hochul will lead it. See, by the way, I got that from Governor Andrew Cuomo. He told me that the other day.
I just have a question, though, because, you know, a lot of the people who are for changes to the criminal justice system that protect people who are already in jail, J-A-I-L, Governor, are saying, well, now that Kathy Hochul won, we could ask for more. We want to let people who are older prisoners get out of jail early. We want to do other changes and make it more liberal. So is she going to be under like a tug of war? On the one hand, she's going to have the election results, which really is a repudiation of what's been done so far in terms of public safety. On the other hand, you've got the advocates to say, we want more. I mean, what do you think, Mr. Blakeman?
Well, she definitely has to make sure that she pushes back very strongly against that, because she will see a further erosion of Democrat support and independent voter support in the suburban counties and the rural areas. Just remember, she won a very close election, considering that the Democrats have a tremendous registration advantage. And she won a close election, and she has to make the decision, is she going to bring the state together, or is she going to continue to polarize? And if they have more liberal, progressive, woke policies that are anathema to the counties, in the suburban counties and the rural counties, then she's doing the Republican Party a favor. She's not doing any favor for the public, but she's doing the Republican Party a favor, because that 5 points could evaporate very quickly.
Well, you know, the other issue that Lee Zeldin brought to the fore, which was very popular with the voters, was his insistence that you roll back congestion pricing. Is she going to be under some pressure to do that, given the fact that the economy is bad, people don't want to be able to, are worried about being able to have the money to pay to come into the city to pay for the congestion pricing fee? Is this just a bad time to do this?
Well, the Central Business District in New York, which is 34th Street to 59th Street, is really the capital of the world. It is the economic center. It is the heart that beats, that makes New York State and the rest of the country move. And to add to that, congestion pricing at this time might be something to reconsider, because New York City, along with the rest of the country, are trying to get back on our feet after the pandemic. And so I would think it's worth taking a second look.
And congestion pricing right now isn't the big issue, because people aren't paying it. But once they start paying it, we're not just talking about Long Islanders or people who live in Westchester County or in the Hudson Valley. We're talking about people who live in Brooklyn and Queens, Staten Island, the Bronx, who want to come into Manhattan for a day and spend a day there. And if they get hit with this congestion pricing, I think that you're going to see a revolution with the outer boroughs.
Well, one of the things, Mr. County Executive, that sustains your point is the one thing that the pandemic taught us is that you don't have to work in an office. You don't have to travel 45 minutes, some people 2 and 3 hours to get to New York City, to turn around and come back, and then to get $23 slapped on you every time you come in. That is going to be an issue. So,
and I think it's going to have a material benefit to me as county executive of Nassau County, because we're trying to get people to shop and
they're going to come shop with you.
We're hoping.
So don't ever say that I didn't see a good thought from a Republican.
Well, thank you very much, Governor.
We're going to leave it right there for the moment. We'll be right back with more right after the break.